Hello, it's Melinda from Alexis and Melinda's Art Space, and just coming on with a Mission Inspiration April. Now, if you don't know what Mission Inspiration is, it's an 8-step process to 8 steps to construct your journal page. The steps are very vague, so you can interpret them how you like. So this is Mission Inspiration April, and I'm working in my recycled novel. I've got some more videos on my channel about altered books and do's and don'ts and things. So I've gessoed the page to start with, and then I've started with step 1. So step 1 was cover your page with stamped images. Now this little stamp that I'm using without a block, because I didn't want it to be perfect, is a little stamp from Primer. It doesn't actually have a name. It's a whole bunch of words. I use it quite a lot, and it's got a few little pictures and stuff on it as well. I got it 3 or 4 years ago, so it's probably not available anymore. Just showing you the Versa Magic ink pad I used. It was Sahara Sand, a new pad that I've tried experimenting with. So I decided to stamp that in the background. Then I had a realization. I was wondering if it was waterproof. Oops. Because the next step is add a thin layer of colour. So I decided to do an experiment. I've probably just gone off to get my book. I should have cut this a little bit out. So I have to do a bit of an experiment to see if it's waterproof, because I decided I want to use watercolours. So they're the watercolours I'm going to use, my PBO watercolours. I'm really in love with these watercolours. Even though it's still a very cheap set, it's a better set than all my other cheap sets. So it cost me about $25 out of China, so it was quite reasonable for 24 colours. And I'm finding I'm using the set a lot, and the paints aren't disappearing. Now, you use a lot of those cheap sets a lot, and the paints just disappear very, very quickly. So I've stamped some Versa Magic onto this little journal I'm using at the moment. Is just a whole bunch of junk mail just sewn together, and I just put excess paint in there, excess stamps, and it will become a little journal of its own eventually. So I've just sprayed my page, given it a light spray because I wanted the watercolours to flow a bit more. So just trying to add a nice watercolour. Sorry, my voiceover decided to stop for a minute. So adding a nice watercolour wash. I think I put my phone on top of the computer and stopped it. So just adding some blues, because I decided to make this a bit of a blue page. I must have been feeling a bit blued this day, because it does end up to be very blue. Feeling a lot happier now. And I've just lost the prompts that I had up on my phone, and no, there we are, back again. So just adding that wash, adding several different colours of the blue. There's 3 or 4 shades of the blue in there, just to get a nice light wash. Still wanting to see the stamped images underneath, and you can still see them in the art journal page, which is really cool. So just drying that with my heat gun. Just be careful if you do have a lot of pooling of watercolours and you do dry it with a heat gun, it tends to blow them everywhere. So bear in mind that if you are drying watercolours with a heat gun, just don't blow big blobs of water and watercolour, because you'll blow it where you don't want it. I forgot to film the last bit. I was just in my own little world doing it. So the next step was add texture with fabric fragments. It's a big mouthful. So just using the gel medium that I used. It's not one I'd buy again. It's really, really old. I'm trying to use it up. It's from Matisse. And just adding some material fragments. The next one, step 4, is add layers of torn paper or cards. So I've torn up some little bits of paper and just adding them into the clusters. I decided I wanted a focal point on each side of the page across the double spread, so that's why I'm sort of leaving that big gap on the right hand side and that sort of gap from a third up the top to down the bottom on the left hand side. So just drying that again, because I used I think I used Mod Podge to stick that on with. Sorry, I filmed this a little while ago and catching up on my voiceovers. Now my voice is much better. And I do have my page open in front of me this time, so that helps a lot. I was doing the voiceover one back and didn't have the page. I didn't have the page in front of me, it was a bit harder. Okay, so I decided to bring in a stencil. This face stencil with the butterflies and flowers is one of my own unique design. And it will be available on my website very soon. I'm updating my website in May. No, May's nearly over. Strike that. June, I'm updating my website. Just time flies lately. It's ridiculous. Busy, busy, busy. So this is more of a mask than a stencil. So you lay it down and you're basically blocking out the colour around it, and it looks really cool. So I've got several stencils like this. I've got one with cogs. I've got one with a clock. And I've got a few other face stencils. They will be up on my website in June. If you are interested in this one before it goes up on the website, just email me or contact me and we can do that. We can organise to get you one. So I'm just cleaning off the stencil at the moment because I wanted to flip it around and reverse the images. So I had to clean off the back of the stencil, or the front of the stencil, so I could reverse it to the back. So just again, going around the edge, using a Tim Holtz blending tool, and when you're stenciling, it's better to have less paint on your paint, whether it's a paintbrush, a stipple brush, or this Tim Holtz blending foam. The less paint, the better, because it doesn't run and goop under the stencil. So just trying to get all those little details. The book you saw me, again, was that collection of junk mail. I use it as a palette, so if I'm going to put paint out to use on a project, I do put it onto that book, and then when I've finished, I just coat one of the pages in the colour, as you can see. This is me cleaning up that Tim Holtz foam brush, and it's amazing how much paint this little sponge holds in it. So I did that page, decided, oh, let's do another page. I do cut it off in a minute and come back because it's wobbling my camera. My tripod is on the edge of my trestle table, and there we go, I'm back. I've obviously done that off camera. Edge of the trestle table, and it tends to wobble where I wobble the page. Next one is step 6, was make marks with your fingers. So I decided I just wanted a bit of subtle bordering around the page, so I take my finger in a darker blue paint and just stipple it around the edges. It just grounds the frame, or grounds the double page and gives it a frame, which is really, really good. So just doing that. I really like how this page turned out. It's different, but it's really cool. Sometimes I do mission inspiration, and you may find this as well. You do the 8 steps, you get to the end and you go, oh my god, yuck. But I've had fun doing the process, and no one else has to look in my art journal if I don't want to. If I do an exceptionally bad page, I may not share it on YouTube, but then again, I may share it anyway because it shows you not every page has to be perfect. My philosophy is the whole point of art journaling is if you're having fun, who cares what the end result looks like? It's only paper and paint. It doesn't cost a fortune to actually do a page. So the stencil was actually step 5, glue or paint focal image. Sorry. Step 7 we're up to now, add a quote, phrase or title. Looking at my page, I'm trying to read what the title was, but it was done in really scribbly font. I really can't read what it was, and that was my intended purpose. This is a fine liner bottle, and I wish I could track a couple more down of these in Australia. It's on my to-do list when my spending freeze is no longer. So it's thin down paint in a bottle with a metal tube, and when you put the lid on, there's a needle that goes down the metal tube so it doesn't block up, which is so handy. So people put glue in them, people put paint in them, people put all sorts of different things in them. So they're great for hand journaling and scribble journaling. I didn't want anything to overpower the page. Step 8 was add doodles, scribbles or Zentangle. So I tried to, there are my scribbly notes from the mission inspiration. I try to go in and doodle with that white pen, but it's just not being. Me and white pens are just ridiculous at the moment because they don't like me. They block up, they run out, they won't work. So I'm just doing some bit of doodling, bit of defining, I can't talk today, defining in the little flowers just with a really fine liner. And then I decided to get a white paint pen in a minute and I do some dots. So I had fun doing this page. It turned out really, really nice. Didn't have an idea of what I was doing to start with. And it's those kind of pages that I do go to the end and go, ooh, yuck. But this one I really, really like. And I like it because I'm using one of my stencils, so I always get a kick out of doing a page where I use my stencils. I should use them a lot more often, but they're just always packed up and always have to find them. It's my goal for this year, is to use more of my stuff and incorporate more of my stuff in my art. So I love how I've left the, apart from the sand grey stamp, everything is blue. A sort of a blue, black and white monochromatic page, which it's good to do pages like this because it really tests your ability to find products that match into the pages, and using several different shades of the blue you can actually get different results. So the watercolours, the paint, and the 2 shades of different paint. Here we go, here's with the white paint marker, just doing some dots. I found those 2 strips of blue fabric were just too blue. They just needed to be toned down a little. So I decided to add some dots. So this is the end. I'll put some stills at the end of this. It's something new I'm going to be trying, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye for now.